for Monday, June 10th. Take approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Norbury.
That all items in the June 10th, 2024 Policies and Priority Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Julik, I see you have joined us via Zoom. If you don't show your hand or don't make it known, I'll assume that you're in favor. Okay. Okay, adoption of minutes for May 13th, 2024, Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
That the May 13th, 2024 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. Any errors or omissions, Council? Staff? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes, Council? Staff? Thank you. Okay, moving on to delegations. CTI Plus Resources LTD. Quan Li, CTI Plus Resource Representative in attendance to present the Rocky Creek Metallurgical Coal Project. Welcome. Please come up to the delegation table right there.
Here?
Yes, sir. Yeah, wherever you'd like to join.
This means I can talk.
Yep, and the mic is all yours. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Lord Mayor Darrell. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, staff of Tumbler Ridge, Aline in particular. We're very, very happy to be here to present the company and the project. The project is a metallurgical coal project located approximately 60 kilometers from Tumbler Ridge to the north. And then you turn onto Sakunka Road. You will then come to the site approximately 30 kilometers down the road, which will show you the exact location. The proponent, CTI Plus, is a Calgary-based junior coal mining and development company. We have a very small but very effective team. Perhaps we can change the slide.
Can I just ask that you just speak into the mic just for the council that's on Zoom and any residents, just so they can hear it?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about the project, the CTI Plus company, as well as the project milestone today. So as I said, we're a Calgary-based company focused on metallurgical coal only in Canada. We have initiated the environmental assessment process in August 2023. And we have engaged consultants, ERM, EDI, as well as Stantec and SRK. So we are going to bring the project from current stage to environmental certification and then to permitting and development. So it is an open pit mine, and my colleague Judy Matt-Carlock would tell you more about the project. Yeah. So the team, myself, I am the CEO, and Yulin Li, he's our technical, he's a chief operating officer and chief geoscientist. You have Kim, our board director representative, but on the executive level, as well as Leisure Ren, she is our CFO. And finally, we have Judy joined us. Judy brings rich experience of engagements as well as coal mines EA certification process. So we're very lucky to have her here today. So we are committed to engage with nations, indigenous nations, as well as local communities. The purpose of coming here today is we want to engage with Tumbler Ridge communities, everyone here, whoever is interested in our project. That's the main purpose of being here. Tell them who we are, what we do, and do they have any concerns about the project we're going to conduct few kilometers from here. We would be listening. We will be responsive. We would reply all the questions. We would be transparent and open. Yeah.
Thank you, Quan. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to be here today to meet us and learn about our Rocky Creek Metallurgical Coal Project. As Quan said, my name is Judy, and I've spent many years in this area. I'm a geologist. I worked in the oil and gas industry for about 20 years in this area, all the way up to Fort Liard. But since about 2008, I've changed my passion and my roles to more Indigenous engagement and stakeholder engagement, and also assisting my colleagues on the EA process. Before I get into our project, I just also want to acknowledge that we are meeting here today on the Treaty 8 traditional territory. So, as Quan stated, our project is called the Rocky Creek Metallurgical Coal Project. Obviously, it's met coal. I see the plaque up there, Northeast Coal Development, and that's what we'd like to be part of one day. We're in fairly early stages. Our project is approximately 65 kilometers south of Chetwynd, and see the map up there. Roughly halfway, you know the area better than I know the area, so roughly halfway between Chetwynd and Tumbler Ridge. Next one. So right now what we're looking at, if you look at the map up there, and you'll see some red circles. We have a northwest block and we have a southeast block. The northwest block would consist of 6 open pit mines. The southeast block would consist of 1 open pit mine. And again, this would be an open pit mine construction. I know I'm limited in time here, but on the map you can see where we proposed to have the haul roads. Some of these roads would have to be upgraded, but we don't know that as of yet on to the degree or the extent of upgrading. And also the rail loop would have to, a spur into the rail would have to also be constructed. Okay, next one is good. And this is a map just showing some of the surface facilities that we are proposing. Pretty well typical, and again, if you're familiar with coal mines here on the tailings ponds and sediment ponds and the waste rock piles and that. And then the backhaul pile in the next one. And this one is just showing again what the proposed mine plan for the northwest block. And again, the northwest block would consist of 6 open pits. So again, the red lines showing the pit boundaries, the green showing where the waste rock discharge would be, and then the brown with the backfill. And know you'll all have a copy of this presentation to give you time to look at these maps and that. Next one. And the southeast block, basically, it would just be the 1 open pit to the southeast block, and wouldn't be as much infrastructure required for that. Would basically just have a satellite office, and it would be connected by road to the facilities at the northwest block. Next one. So on this slide, there's a lot of numbers, and you don't need to look at all the numbers. I think the takeaway with this slide is that we would basically be looking at an annual production of 3 million tons of coal per year. After washing this coal, would probably be approximately about 1.8 million tons of coal per year. So that's what we're looking at right now. The ratio that showing on this is a fairly low strip ratio at 4.75 to 1. In some of the projects I've worked in this area, other projects it's been higher, like 6 to 1 or 7 to 1. So this is a fairly low strip ratio. And the estimated time of the mine life, and these are both mines, including construction and decommissioning and reclamation be 16 years. We're looking at the northwest block, which has, again, the 6 open pit mines, of about 11 years for including construction and then production, and then the southeast block of 3 years. So again, 16 years for including construction and decommissioning. And I just forgot to mention on that slide before, we're looking at approximately about 243 employees, and that would include contractors as well for the project. And of course, if you add the spin-off jobs in that 243, so roughly about 800, including on the spin-off jobs with service people and hotels, et cetera. So as Quan has stated, we started our baseline study, and it's baseline study to, of course, collect the samples and baseline. We started that in August, September of 2023, and we'll be continuing on with that for about the next 2.5 years. We're hoping to have that finished December of 2025, the baseline collected. The feasibility, we started in July 2023, hoping to have the feasibility study completed February of 2025. Our next important milestone now is to submit the initial project description, and that, of course, goes to the BC Environmental Assessment Office. And our timeline to submit that is at the end of this month. And of course, once that gets submitted, and then go the guidelines on with the timelines, and everything even starts to get faster pace. And we're looking at that this project, it will be going through the provincial EA and the federal EA, with the tonnage of coal. And we also will have the engagement plan submitted also to the BC EAO, and our consulting company ERM is working on that. And then after, we're hoping to have the detailed project description submitted December of 2024. So we'll be working closely with the BC EAO office towards submitting the detailed project description 2024. And then the process plan by April 2025, and EA application expected to be submitted in August of 2026, and we're hoping, if all goes, depending on all goes well, to have the EA possibly approved in December 2027. So for 2024, in our engagement, what we've been really concentrating on is, of course, the engagement with the Indigenous communities here, the West Moberly, the Saulteaux, the Halfway River, McLeod Lake Indian Band. And we've also introduced ourselves to some of the First Nation bands north of the Peace, the Blueberry and Prophet. So that's our plan. We want to be transparent. We want to be available to answer any questions, and also to address any concerns or additional information that District of Tumbler Ridge may require. Next one. Yeah, thanks. And that's it, and we're here to answer questions or, or any more clarification, and also for what the district would like to see us do for next steps too. We'd like to come and present to the community of Tumbler Ridge.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. And I think you mentioned it right there at the end is, whether you classify it as an open house or whatever to engage the residents and such. And, we always include our First Nation neighbors anyways. So if we knew that was happening, we would reach out to our First Nation partners and neighbors just to make sure they know it's available as well. I'll go to council first for questions and comments, and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Noxena.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and presenting today. It's really interesting to hear what you have planned for our region. I was going through the package and our agenda prior to the meeting, and I really appreciate the list of engagement that has been done with our First Nation neighbors because it's extensive, so really great to see that laid out. I just had one question about caribou harm mitigation. I know that's like a really front of mind for a lot of people, including the First Nations and residents of Tumbler Ridge. There's been a lot of a lot of work done recently, and just wondering what your project has planned for this. Thanks.
Okay. We're working on that right now with the First Nations and the regulatory bodies. A few years ago, I worked up in this area for a while, and I was actually on the committee, the Caribou Committee. I represented on the proponent side in that. So we will be fully engaged on the caribou. I mean, yes, we know it's a huge, issue. It's, we want to do all we can as a people and as a company to protect the caribou. And over the years, I've sort of always kept in touch with what has been happening on the caribou, the penning that's going on, and seems to be a fair success. And then also, just making sure that we're not in an area of the habitat, or if we're most of our exploration right now is in the summer months. But if the snow started coming and all that, we'd be very careful that we weren't in there. And then if there was caribou habitat and plowing the roads and that sort of thing. And so we'll be very engaged with the First Nations on it. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
So caribou is just, we understood.
You just have to speak.
Yeah, if you just come up, just because we have
Sorry.
people on Zoom, if you just want to come up there, it would be great.
Yeah, we understood caribou is just very important issues from federal level, provincial level, and local communities, First Nations. And we did research on caribou by year-end. And the preliminary results came out as our mining area, open pit area footprint with a 5 kilometers buffer zone. There's no habitat, no caribou, no habitat. And the closest, if you look at the caribou map, distribution of caribou and habitat distribution map, and the closest point to my footprint is 7 kilometers. So in 5 kilometer buffer zone, nearest and far east footprints, there's no caribou habitat so far. But our wildlife baseline study keep going on. We set up the cameras in last year, September. All the work can keep going on. And this September is more extensive wildlife and habitat baseline study going on. We will know more after the baseline study. That's what we know so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Follow-up, Councilor Noxana.
No, I have a second question, but I can.
Go ahead, Councilor Noxana.
Okay. My other question revolves around the processing plant. I'm assuming you would build one at the location and then run utilities in. Would the hope be to run it off hydro or gas? Or is that even something is that a question for future?
I'm going to let Dr.
It's hydro.
Hydro, is it?
It's hydro. No gas will be used. And it's just electricity powered washing plant. And the coal dryer, we just about finished the washability and processing study by sediment. And the results come out so far, so we don't need the extensive drying of the coal for example, gas heating. So it's no such measures need. Electricity around centrifuge can make our coal dry to 9 points moisture content. That's good enough to sell on the market. Added on the train and the port, added 1% moisture. So we will FOB off on the boat. That's in the sale product will be 10% moisture. That's normally international market 10% moisture. So no gas used.
Thank you.
Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Thanks, Judy, for coming in. And the one comment I want to make was your commitment to consultation. One thing we saw with another company that has interests in the area is that their whole process is held up because they didn't hold enough engagement with the First Nations. So well done. We're really rooting for your success. And in terms of engaging our community, you probably find that we're a pretty resource-friendly, industry-friendly community, right? Like, we're a coal mining town, so we recognize our culture there. I would suggest, if you're looking to engage our community, make sure we get the notification out there quite in advance. right? We have a local newspaper you can advertise in, get in contact with us, and we can share it around. I'm going to ask some questions that sort of jump around the direct question everyone wants to hear, and that's when will you open? I know you can't answer that, right? It's all based around how quick the government can give you certification, and if it was up to us, it would be as quick as possible. So if your timeline holds true and you can obtain your environmental assessment in 2027, how long would that certificate be good for until you need to have like a major startup?
Usually they're good for 5 years before they back it out. Then I'll let Dr. Li answer how for construction.
Our plan so far is we hope for get the environmental assessment certificates by end of 2027. But before that, in July, we will submit my permit concurrently. So we are doing the feasibility study right now, and by July, we'll be ready to apply the my permit. So my permit normally takes 6 months to 12 months, depends on the scale of the project. Let's say we need 12 months, so we come to mid-2028, July 2028. So we will, once we have the my permit, we will start construction. So the engineers right now, they think need 2 years wrap up, 2 years from start construction to wrap up to 3 million annual ton. That scale of mining need 2 years. So by September 2030, that will be the full scale run, 3 million ton for every year until to the end.
All right, we heard it here, 2030. Here we go.
Yep.
We will do everything we can, absolutely, to get there. I don't want to speak for our mayor, but I know this council is very supportive.
It's a good number,
2030, and then we have 17 years, hopefully 17 years from start to finish. Do you guys have any other coal interests in the area so that we can, continue on, move around? Just curious.
Yes, we do. We have other coal license in the other side of Skonka, but we haven't got that start exploration yet.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just it's good to know, since the beginning of Tumbler Ridge, we've seen coal mines last quite a long time, which is exciting, which is great. It's what we want to see, and it's great to hear that you have continuing plans to move forward. So they'll be here for a long time. Very exciting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, Rocky Creek's definitely the flagship right now. That's
Absolutely.
what we need. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. If you can't answer this question, that's fine. I understand there's proprietary stuff that you guys want to protect. I was more wondering, I'm a little concerned about the future supply, well, not so much the supply, the demand for met coal. I'm not going to ask you exactly how profitable you expect it to be or anything, but are you concerned with the sort of mid-timeline, and is that likely to affect your plans? I could just see that power requirements, other supply chain issues, that there just won't be the demand around the time you're talking about. So do you have like an international price target that you're looking at over the midterm or anything like that? That gives me an idea on how likely this is if things are starting to slow down.
I can take that question. So our coal is a hard coking coal. It's a top tier of the coking coal. We just finished the coke test, so-called even coke test. We did 23 samples, multiple coal seams, and we have the independent third-party coal quality consultants that's come up with the conclusion now it's just a hard coking coal. In the international market, so about 30 million ton per year annual international market coking coal. Around that, about 25% is hard coking coal, and 70% is PCA coal. That's just the powerized coal injection and the semi-soft coking coal. So we all know this the coking coal is high price now and since 2022. So right now our marketing and pricing consultants to estimate based on our coal quality. So we target for $195 per ton market price. And we expect that a little bit more brown on that. We expect that coal price could be hold longer. We all know it's a bulk of commodities is up and down always, but for the long term, the hard coking coal really not much reserved internationally. And particularly, Canada is a very good position in hard coking coal. We just didn't fully develop yet. So Australia is lots of hard coking coal, but you have their problems. Flooding is a key thing. That's why the market up and down seasonally. And Mongolia is not developed and not really landlocked. This is really landlocked and not much really hard coking coal in those areas. So the remaining is Canada. Russia is too far away from on the market. Canada is good coking coal, good resources, good reserves, and good ports. We have much easier to move around than the coal. We just need, and also the coal making steel and industrial development like China, next might be India. The steel its consumption goes highest every year. And our coking coal supply is shrinking because recently the coal investment getting harder. Lots of reasons. And part of the reason is people probably do not really identify what is hard coking coal, what is coal put in a power plant. So we say the coal is dirty, means the coal is good, the power plant is dirty. But in hard coking coal is really rare reserves and less developed. So that's more marketing data available, and we can see all the future outlooks pretty much similar conclusions on that one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, I have a couple. I know you're in early engagement, even in regards with the government and working through that process, but you'd already made a comment in regards to railway and obviously your train cars. Have you had that conversation with CN, and what would it look like if you guys were to come on board with more tonnage of coal going to Rupert?
That's on our list. Sorry, we haven't initiated contact yet.
Okay. Okay, and then when in regards to engaging, I'm glad to see the engagement with our First Nation neighbors and stuff like that. I think it's very important to be out there at the forefront. I'm just curious on how those negotiations or those engagement processes have been going for you guys, with whether it's with West Moberly, Soto, McLeod Lake.
So this past week, they were presented and made aware of the initial project description going into the EA office at the end of this month.
Okay.
So most of them, the bands, and by most, the West Moberly, Soto, McLeod Lake Indian Band, did not have a chance yet to read the initial project description. So we're waiting for their comments to
Okay.
come back.
Okay, no, and I appreciate that, and I'll be, the reason I asked that is I have fairly good engagement with our First Nation chiefs, and we always, I sit on a leadership table, it'll be meeting tomorrow, and I just don't want to make sure that, if they bring it up, I need to have that conversation with them, and especially because, we all talk, and, my thoughts always rely on the First Nations. This is their land, it was their land first, from my side, when I always wait to see the First Nation engagement and what their perspective views are around that land, whether it's caribou habitat, other habitat that maybe we're unaware of. So I think that's very, very important to be out in front with them. I know Councilor Nobre had already mentioned it. We'd had another group come forward and there were some things missed. And to me, it seems like now we're going, they're having to go back. So I think, knowing that you guys are out in the forefront of that, I think that's very good for your company. I think it's very good in regards to that consulting with that First Nations groups, and I say all of them. I know you mentioned Kelly Lake McLeod Lake and Soto and Westmo and Doig and Blueberry. We do have another First Nation group close to us, and it's Kelly Lake. I'm aware they're not a nation at this time. But that could change, so I would highly recommend that you reach out to Kelly Lake. I think it's very important for them to be in that engagement process, or at least have that kind as well. They've been on this land as well, and I think that is very important, even though they're not marked as a nation at this point. I'd kind of give you that as a suggestion to reach out to Kelly Lake.
Thank you, Mayor, and that's a very good suggestion. And Kelly Lake is on our list.
Perfect.
And I met with them about a year ago. And of course, they're working their way so that they are part of the process and with the projects going on.
Perfect.
So they will be on our list, yeah.
Perfect. I appreciate that, and I will be honest, I didn't get through your whole list there, so I know maybe one of the other councillors did, but I get through the whole package. So, yeah, I don't have a whole bunch of questions. I mean, look forward to hearing back from you. Staying engaged. I mean, I do think that you should engage our community as well as Chetwynd's. We're obviously a very close PRD area. I would suggest reaching out to the Peace Regional District as well. We all sit on that, or there's somebody from this council that sits on that board. So when you need support letters, we look at it as a regional as well, not just from communities. You can always get that regional support too. So I think it's very important to reach out to the regional district as well on that. But yeah, I don't have any questions. If there's anything we can do, just reach back out. And look forward to hearing more as you work through the process with the government, especially it's an election year.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
If any, as we go through milestones and successful at certain, reaching milestones, would you like us to send you a note and keep you updated on as we move along?
100%. Yeah, I know council and I would totally appreciate that. I would ask that you go through our CAO, Ms. Scott. I'm not sure if she has a card there, but if not, she can get that information to you. But yeah, even if it's just updated through our CAO, and it'll be updated through council, and then we can keep posted. And, always feel free if you're in the area and you want to stop in. I can usually make myself available, and if I can't, staff usually available, and if I can't be, my acting mayor can be.
Excellent, thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much.
And go Oilers, go.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
I don't know what the score is, but we'll find out. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much. Next up is Tumbler Ridge Outdoor Recreational Association. Ryan Lamming, president, intends to present council's TRORA's golf tournament project. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me. Like I said, representing TRORA, we have a date for our first annual golf tournament, and we're pretty excited about it. With that, though, we're asking for the golf tournament registration and green fees to be waived. TR Cares graciously let us take their spot, for they weren't able to do theirs this year. So we're just taking their dates, and we understood that it was something that they kind of had in play, that these fees were waived for them. So we're kind of asking for the same thing. And so the fees are for the tournament green fee, and the 9 holes for 72 participants. The fees of $28.35 times 72 brings it to $2,041.20 to be waived. We're not asking for the golf carts at this. We're going to charge for those suckers. Maybe make a little bit more money. I don't know. We'll see. But a lot of this is also from donations. We've got a lot of sponsors already kicking up for it. Really excited for this one.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Any questions from council? Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Do you guys have a designated event that these funds are going to go towards? Is it going to go towards the Oster Cruiser or, yeah?
Great question. It's going to go to TRORA. So all
Just
4
TRORA.
clubs. So supporting all 4 clubs.
Follow up?
Nope. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Councilor Noxana.
Thank you.
Not done yet.
I thought you said.
He always says thanks for coming in, and
Yeah.
every delegation always is like, done at that time.
I won't leave.
So not your fault. You're not the first person.
Perfect.
Thanks for coming in. I just wanted to mention that I appreciate that you worked with TR Cares to pick a date, because there's not many weekends in the summer. So I think that this was a great opportunity maybe to work together. So appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? I have a couple. Councilor Norbury asked it, but if you can just kind of feed us maybe some more information on that in regards to the funds raised. When you talk about it goes to TORA and it's going to these other organizations that TORA umbrellas, are we talking about some of the ones that have already got a fee for service from the district of Tumbler Ridge?
Well, I don't know. I think what we're going to do is just disperse it kind of evenly. We don't really know yet how we're going to disperse the proceeds from this event. But the plan was to give it to one club at a time and do this like every year, and then like pick a club to go through, and then, okay, so Snowmobile Club's going to get it this year. We figured at the end of the day, that's not the right course of action. We're going to make sure it goes to each club individually, and then as well as TRORA to build each club.
Okay. So just want to confirm what TORA is looking for is the waiver of the 2835, and that's for 9 holes of golf.
You betcha, sir.
Right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
I do want to make one comment. I do understand that this is a source of revenue that it's essentially would go to the municipality. So greatly appreciate any offers at this time, but do understand the importance of it, especially with what's been transpiring in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate those comments. I mean, obviously, we never do make a decision in front of a delegation. It'll be brought forward to another meeting for debate with council, and I think that's why those questions need to be asked and where the funds are going. You know, if they're, you know, to me, we had other organizations come forward through TORA, supported by TORA, to get fee for services and stuff like that, and we're supported by council during budget. And then to me, we're getting another one back, looking for a waiver. That's up to council to debate it, but again, that's why I asked those questions, to find out where the funds were going, so that when we get into it, to that meeting, you know, council has some information in front of them.
For sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. Sorry, Ryan.
No.
I did have a follow-up question regarding sponsors. You said you had a bunch of sponsorship coming in. I think it's important when we're making these decisions, like how much effort that you've put into getting this going, and I hate for us to lose that. So can you share how much in sponsorships you think you guys have raised, or how many organizations you've have committed to helping out? Because it's just, you know, when we see all these groups come together for one event, it's, you know, it does move the needle in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. So we do have some commitments. Nothing really. We just have a tier system so far. So Kanuma, of course, is one of the main sponsors. Finning, SMS, all these, we've kind of hit the mining going and running. Industrial Metalworks, all these companies have, but we haven't had anything like solidified. They're just verbal at this point. But we do have a sponsorship form created, posters created, and we should get some more answers in the next week or so.
Fair enough. I mean, it's nothing's even set in stone yet. You know, so it's hard to get from commitment from them. So I grasp that. So, but good for you for going out there and hustling and trying to generate stuff to get this event happening. So thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions from council? I have one at the end here. So if council was not to move forward with the fee waiver of $28.35 for 72 golfers, does that stop you from having a golf tournament?
No, we'll make it happen regardless. This town pulls together, so I'm confident that we'll have it. It's just an extra something else for the clubs, right?
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Any other questions from council? All right, thank you very much, Ryan. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 6.1 UBC Minister Meeting Review. So I just confirmed with staff to have this brought forward in our agenda so that council could just make sure these were the ministers that we selected, and these are the topics that we would like to have talked about during the minister meeting, so staff can work forward on paperwork and getting notes set up. So take the recommendation from council. Okay, I'll put a motion on the floor that we take this for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Noxana, all in favor? Carried. The first one I'm going to suggest, and I know staff, it might have came in after the staff brought this forward, but we have an opportunity here to, if we decide that we just want to meet with ministers, that's fine. We get 15 minutes speed dating. If we decide that maybe we want to meet with staff on some of these. We can give direction to staff to reach out that we want the meeting with ministry staff, not the minister. That gives us 30 minutes. My suggestion would be with the housing minister is to meet with staff and not the minister. Council will be getting an email that I received while I was away at the FCM. And yeah, you can read that later, but I think that should be with staff. I think we'll get more out of it, a little bit more in-depth conversation when we're there for 30 minutes. Feeling from council? Council Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. If you feel that's the correct way to go, I would support that. I mean, I know you've already met with the minister recently. And I'll just be honest, like in our experience so far with this council dealing with the Minister of Housing is that I would prefer to speak with his staff because don't get much from his office. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Councillor Julik.
Yeah, I like the idea of talking to staff. Councillor Norbury cut out there, but that's okay. The two pieces that we talk about recruitment, I would love if we could go in with an actual suggestion rather than just asking about recruitment. I think.
Okay, we're on Minister of Housing. I'm assuming you recruitment, you're talking about another
Okay.
ministry. That's not, I don't want to get confused.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm good with the staff for staff with housing because then we'll have more time in there to talk.
Thank you. Councillor Dussault.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I agree also, staff, and if you feel that's the way we should go, I totally support that.
Thank you. I'll put a motion on the floor that we direct staff to reach out to the minister staff of the BC Housing for the meeting at UBCM. Take a seconder. Councillor Norbury, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Councillor Julik, there was one you were wanting to talk about?
Yeah, I'll just talk about the one with health, because I'm probably a bit in conflict with education, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I think that we need to go in with suggested solutions rather than just talking about recruitment. I think that they know that there's an issue there, so just some ideas of what we could do. And one of my suggestions is loan forgiveness with the added incentive of or not incentive, but that they stay in a certain area for a certain period of time and hopefully they get to love it. And then the other piece would be, particularly with health and doctors, is that they get paid different wage because now I think we're losing them to the Lower Mainland because they get paid the same no matter where they live and they have more work they have more work in the north. They have to cover more emergency room hours and stuff.
Okay, and I think on the Ministry of Health, it kind of suggests that when it says suggestion to adjust pay structures and the need for better incentives to retain doctors in rural areas. So that's, I know we've had that conversation. I think that's something we can add regards to, pay for service, loan forgiveness, different pay structure instead of the set wage that is now the process that seems like most health organizations are going through. They're doing the alternative payment. Everybody makes this certain wage except for when you intermerge. They're paid differently, but I think that captures it. I think just have a conversation with staff. I can have the conversation just to make sure we detail that information. Good with that? Okay. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. So on that topic of Ministry of Health and recruitment and retention, one of the discussion points that I had when I had my time in the hospital, I got the opportunity to speak with some medical students, nursing students, and I got to pose them the direct question: what would it take to keep you in our region? And there's 6 to 8 of them hanging around, and they all sort of said, it costs a whole lot of money to be a student, and it's very hard to survive as a student, as a healthcare professional, and that's the biggest thing for them. It's nice to talk about loan forgiveness. It's nice to talk about pay incentives, but if they can't make it through the program, they may not even become a nurse. So I think that might be an untapped target for us is students and how they can assist them. I know they already pay them a little bit of money. Maybe that needs to go up. I don't know. Just something that we could throw out there. And I can speak to that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Norbury jogged my thought process on that a little bit. I think one of the things, at least the U.S. has, is loan forgiveness for service. And if we could provide a loan for their living expenses and it be forgiven if they serve 5 years, 8 years, whatever lines they are, that might kill those two birds with one stone. They need loans anyways to get through the program. I think a cost of living loan or something like that could be enticing, along with the fact that they don't ever have to pay it back if they stay. But I don't know what the current structures are. I know Canadian loans are generally paid off within 10 years, so we need a different structure than that. But that money up front and forgiven over time model might help with the distribution of people. I think that probably not here, but at least with the ministry staff, if we can push that a little bit, I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, you know, I think an opportunity here is maybe eventually here, maybe before we head to the UBCM, I'll have to circle back through the PRD first, but they do a bursaries there. It is a return for service. The first ones that get the approval is the youth from the north. If it's not filled from the youth from the north, then it does open up to the province of British Columbia. And the same thing, it's a fee for service, so they would still have to sign on to come in to the Peace region, not just Tumbler Ridge, but the Peace region. You know, maybe there's a conversation, instead of everybody trying to pay into a pot, that we look at a pot that is a regional pot. And I think it might be a good conversation to have with the PRD. But like I said, the PRD is doing it now. We pay into that through our taxations to the PRD, and it is a return for service. I know there is a couple of youth that'll be coming out of college in the next couple of years that are due to work within the Peace region under that program. It doesn't mean that we can't look for some other incentives through Northern Health or through the Ministry of Health, obviously, who funds them. But yeah, like loan forgiveness, whatever. I think there's that conversation to have as a whole group through the Peace region as well. You know, we're all short. I know we're short in Tumbler Ridge. I know Cheltenham's short. Fort St. John's short. Dawson Creek is short, and Dawson Creek can only become shorter once the new facility is built and open, is my understanding. So I know there is new doctors coming into the Peace, into Dawson Creek in the next few months. So that's good news. But I think it's something important to have that communication. So I will be seeing the PRD tomorrow. So I'm just going to ask the chair about it, see if there's a way we can just have a group meeting. So just so council's up to speed on that, and maybe it's something we need to loop into ours. Okay, any other ministers? Everybody seems okay with them. I've went through them. I didn't see anything that stuck out except for Minister of Health and Addictions, that we have 3 topics instead of 2 that we suggested to go with, only 2, so with 15 minutes. Again, on that one, I'm wondering if that's something that maybe we should just be meeting with staff that gives us 30 minutes instead of 15. To me, it's something fairly important to deal with. We seem to meet with them, or try to meet with them at every UBCM, and every opportunity we get if we go to Victoria, so I'm not sure what council's thought is on that. Would staff be all right? I put a motion out there, or would you prefer the minister? Okay, well, I'm going to put a motion out and we can debate that. Put a motion on the floor that we direct staff to set up a meeting with the Ministry of Health, Mental Health and Addictions with staff and not the minister. Seconder, Councillor Noxano. Discussion. Again, I'll just make a comment. I think it's 30 minutes. It's election year. I think if we're looking to try and do something for our community within our community, but also within the region, I think it gives us an opportunity of 30 minutes with staff. I think it's very, very important to meet with staff with some of these ministries where we're not getting any, we're not moving forward. That's BC Housing for sure, or Ministry of Housing for sure. Yeah, I don't think he liked my response, but. Okay, I'm going to call the question on the motion. All in favor? Carried. One other thing I'll make a notation of is, and I did mention to the council that I'd be reaching out to the mayor of Chetwynd, and that was in regards to the local wildfire attack crews, creation and training for local wildfire crews. That's fine. They're asking that we be very careful in regards to pushing on the Chetwynd initial attack. It's something they're working from their side. If they need our support, they will more than be happy to reach out to us, but they definitely want to try and do that from their angle and not have Tumbler Ridge go in and try to take over their thing. So just want to mention that to council. I did talk to the mayor there, and I suggested that they may not get a meeting with the Ministry of Forest at this point, or staff. And if we were able to get in and they're not, then maybe that's an opportunity that we invite the mayor there so that we can support him in the meeting, and he can be the talker where we support in regards to the initial attack being relocated back to Chetwynd. They say they're going to relocate them back anyways. It all comes down to housing, which is an RFP they've sent out. We can't find it on the government website, but that doesn't surprise me. Is that good with council? Don't need a motion, I don't think we just leave it there, but we just won't talk about the initial attack for Chetwynd. So that part will just be removed from by staff. Good? Good enough, okay. Anything else from council in regards to minister meetings? Any need to be added that council thought about after the fact? Okay, does anybody, like to me, I believe, I don't want to speak on behalf of council, just take nods, but my understanding, I did have a meeting or conversation with the CAO, and she was just wondering if we were going to prioritize, who was our number one, who's our number two, and I said they're all our number ones, and if we have to, we'll take number twos later, but these are all our number ones. Is that correct by council, from council side? They're all our number ones, okay. Just wanted to confirm. I already said that, but I said I would ask in the meeting, so. All right, moving on to request for letter of support, TRORA Ridge Riders Snowmobile Association, report dated June 10th, 2024, from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding a request for a letter of support of TRORA Ridge Riders Snowmobile Association. Recommendation. Councilor Noxana?
Thank you. For discussion, please, that council receives this report for discussion.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Noxana?
Are we allowed to make a motion at this meeting to support their letter?
Yeah, there's no cost. They're not looking for money from the municipality. They're looking just for a support letter from council, mayor and council.
I thought so, but I thought I should confirm before I make a motion that we write a letter of support.
For the motion?
Making a motion that we write a letter of support.
Seconder? Councilor Norbury? Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Any other discussion in regards to that? 6.3 accessibility stalls. I'll go to Ms. Scott. I'm sorry, I don't have any background information, so I'm unaware what this is about.
It's my understanding this came from a request from a delegation at a previous meeting.
Okay. Do we have any information? I'm sorry, I'm not aware, and I asked this question, and I'm not putting stuff in the spot, but who's, I just see the Director of Protective Service provide an update. Normally, we have information within our package so that we can thing, and I'll be honest, I had to step up for that delegation because there was a part of his delegation that I was in a conflict with, because it mentioned my story about the district taking on delivery service from my business, which I don't believe this is the conversation, but with not having that information, I need to confirm that so I don't have to step out. Ms. Scott? Okay, I'll leave it up to staff. Are you taking this on, or I'll give it to you? This is from staff.
I will defer this to the Director of Protective Services.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is just a placeholder in the agenda tonight, just to have a discussion, as the Mayor alluded. We did have a delegation, a delegation came to Council on April 15th, and they spoke about a few different topics. The purpose of tonight is to kind of seek clarity from Council as to the direction for the implementation of accessibility stalls and the bulb on the backside of the intersection of Spruce and Cottonwood. The delegation kind of met at a bit of a standstill. There was no clear direction from council as to future steps. And we really wanted to make sure that we were capturing which way we were going with this. It was kind of left that we were going to be looking into something. It wasn't clear of what we were going to be looking into, or if no direction was put forward. We did do some preliminary research, and currently the district does not have any standards or guidelines and zoning bylaws when it comes to accessibility stalls off-street. Currently, it has only to do with off-street. There's no on-street parking that's there. So we're kind of just looking for where council's whim is to go with this, let's call them handicap stalls or accessibility stalls for one specific subset on a public road.
Okay. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. Thanks for that, Chief Curry. I'll give my, 1/7 of an opinion here, and that's, at the delegation, we sort of spoke to, it's a public roadway. There's no parking there. There's no accessibility stalls. It's up to, I believe, it's up to the apartment complex to come up with parking stalls there. If people are using that space as parking, which I know they are, they are able to take advantage of a system that shouldn't be there because it's a public road. That's where I'm at. I don't think we should be investigating public stalls and accessibility stalls. If anything, I would highly suggest to that strata to look at creating some accessibility stalls on their property, or try and get some adjoining property to create some accessibility stalls. I can appreciate accessibility, but at the same time, I don't want to encourage more street parking than there already is. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Julik?
I think for me, what I would like to see is what that might look like, and particularly with Ms. Torville working on the accessibility, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the whole thing for all the province and stuff. So I'd like to maybe hear some more back. I don't have a problem with there being some street parking. People park there anyways. And so if maybe we can have a stall, I don't know how it would be enforceable, other than I would say people's, I know we have a bylaw officer. I would suspect that it would be more of an honor system thing, but I think that Ms. Torville probably has some valuable information to go into that, as well as Chief Curry, just in what other bylaws look in other communities.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a BC accessibility mandate. I can't direct to staff to answer that. Ms. Scott, there was a question asked, I guess, to the CEO. If there's any more information in regards to the BC accessibility project?
The Accessibility Advisory Committee, which is that shared committee that's spearheaded by the regional district. I believe that's the one you're referring to. This will be part of the scope of what they're looking into, what each area has for accessibility parking and what will be required, and that'll be one of the recommendations that come forward in their draft accessibility plan.
Perfect, thank you. Councilor Noxana?
Thank you. My concern is that they're asking for a designated parking space on a roadway. What would happen if there was an emergency and we needed emergency vehicles in? I know that nobody is allowed to park there in the winter. Obviously, people do park there in the summer and I guess get away with it. And this particular person definitely had some concerns, but hadn't maybe taken the first step of talking to their strata first. So I do believe that should be maybe where he was directed first, to go there and see if they have any solutions that they can come up with for them.
Yeah, thank you for that. No, I mean, to be honest, appreciate staff giving an update. It would be nice to have it as paper, because I wasn't able to sit in that delegation. So, I have to wait a few comments to come out from council so I can try to piece together what may have been said in this delegation and what maybe council had commented back. But my concern is just that, is one, I don't live there, but I do walk through there quite often, and half the time there's cars parked on the crosswalk. In my opinion, it shouldn't be a no parking for the winter. It should be no parking, period. That's a really tight area when you come around the corner, whether that's emergency vehicles or not, but even residents moving through there. And then again, we have company pickups that block the crosswalk. And to me, I think it just needs to be enforced. Put signs up and enforce it. I appreciate the resident coming forward, and I think it takes a lot for when residents want to come into delegation and they're asking for something, whether it's from council or from staff or to council, and then council would give that direction back. But something like this, I think, Councilor Noxana, you mentioned, and I was just curious if there was any comments from council in that delegation that maybe suggested to this resident to reach out to the strata, and maybe he didn't, and if there was, I'd like to know that, and maybe if there wasn't, that we just ask staff to send a letter, just, maybe helping him along, suggesting that he reaches out to Estrada. I know the gentleman personally. Obviously, he's a local resident. I've talked to him. I didn't talk to him about this issue because my business was mentioned into it at first. But now I feel comfortable now that what staff had put in front of me, I would have been able to reach out to him before this meeting and had a conversation, but I wasn't sure where we were going to go with it. But maybe that's what we need to do is just, help him along to suggest that he reaches out to the strata. And then I think we actually need to have staff, and I don't want to report, I just think we need to do, we didn't do parking there in the wintertime, let's do no parking. And have it enforced. I just think, whether that's, you, Councilor Knox, you mentioned it, emergency vehicles. But I just think of the residents there and how tight it is in that crosswalk. I watched that crosswalk been blocked numerous times. I've seen residents along there post pictures of company vehicles, making sure the logo was very well seen in the picture to make sure that their company would be aware that they were blocking a crosswalk. So I think it's important that area may be different than others, and I'm sorry, I don't want to say, hey, this is staff's job, they know the roads better than I do, but they probably do. They drive around every day. I don't go through every residential area besides from my store to my house or from my house to town hall. So to me, staff would be more aware that, hey, listen, maybe this isn't the area to be parking at all, winter or summer. For sure not in the winter when it comes to snow removal, and I think that's why there was that issue there in the wintertime is that they put no parking during the winter months from, I can't remember the date was, is because that's where they push some of the snow at some points, but it makes it tough to do snow removal. But again, I wasn't in the whole conversation, so I'd be curious what direction maybe council may have said to the delegation. If none, I think I'm prepared to put something on the floor that would give staff direction, but I would not support adding a stall for a resident at this time on a roadway. I think if staff goes through the process through the BC accessibility project with the PRRD, if things were to come out of there that made sense, or it was something that they could show this is what they're doing in Chetwynd or Taylor or Dawes, whoever is part of the committee, again, I'm not aware. We didn't get an update of what all communities joined. I know not everybody joined, I believe. But if that was to come back, then I think staff needs to have a look at that and then bring back a recommendation to us, because maybe that street still would not be the appropriate place to put an accessibility stall for how tight it is. Again, I don't drive around the community, but Councilor Snowmobile.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I mean, I don't know if we directly said you should talk to your strata, but the big discussion was, this, from my perspective at least, this is responsibility of your strata, right? Like maybe they can get some land beside it. And I think from our side as local government, maybe that's something that we should be adding into, I don't know if it's our OCP, but any buildings should have to have, accessibility stalls by all exits. That's something that we won't help in this situation because, I'm sure they get grandfathered in, but that's something maybe we should be thinking about, right? If you have two entrances, have plans for accessibility stalls, please.
Yep, good comment. I think it's something that could be looked at. I'm not sure if that would fall in our zoning, but our zoning bylaws that were drafted, it might. I think that conversation can be had, whether that's after Councillor Julik, and we can ask that question, but maybe that's somewhere where we need to add that. And I know we always use the word grandfathered. Okay, it wasn't there before, now you don't do it. I think when we talk about stratas or even businesses, I think we're here to make sure that, whether it's our residents or people visiting our community, that we want to make sure that we have it, that it is accessible for all. And if there has to be some changes, then we have to make those changes, whether that's a business or to me, if you're capable of making that stall available, or even, a private property like that. You never know, they may still be willing to do it. I think the gentleman just has to reach out. Councillor Julik.
Yeah, you guys are cutting out a bit, so I apologize if I'm just repeating something. I think what I remember from the delegation is it was, even if he could have a temporary spot to just unload groceries and stuff, I would have to go back and look at the meeting. So, but what I'm getting the gist of is, and what I heard from Ms. Scott was that there's a PRD thing going to happen, and they're going to figure that out. And I think if we could make sure that there is some accessibility spots in those areas, like within that strata, because I'm quite sure that would probably be a bylaw. But again, maybe not. So whatever staff thinks is appropriate at this time is what I'm comfortable with, and as long as we're meeting our obligations as a district and with the province's new act after they're able to connect with PRD.
Yep, thank you for that. And the BC accessibility project that's being worked on, I know our municipality sits at that committee. We just got to give them time to go through it. It's an act, and there's some things that have to go through. I think staff would bring something forward in a fairly quick fashion if it was a this is, a must, this isn't. But I am going to put a motion on the floor that we ask staff to contact, and I apologize, don't have the name in front of me, but the proponent that came in on April 15, 2024 is a delegation in regards to an accessibility stall on to Spruce and Cottonwood, I believe is a street. If we just reach out to him maybe, and if we can assist him contacting Strata. Take a seconder. Councilor Nobre, discussion. And the reason I say assist him, maybe he doesn't have, or doesn't know how to do that, and I just think it's, when, again, I want to support the resident that came forward. I think it's a tough enough job coming in as a delegation when you're a company or a corporation, but when you're a resident looking for something, to me, pretty minor, but to me, it could really hinder traffic movement, especially if there was something that was to go down in a bad way back there and people can't get in or get out. I think it's very important, so if staff can just help with that. Any more discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, is there any more discussion in regards to accessibility stalls within this report? I know it was about the delegation, but Councilor Julik had already mentioned about it. Staff's still sitting on that committee. I think stuff will come back when it's prepared and when it's ready and they see things that need to be adjusted or moved around. My comment would be in regards to the zoning amendment bylaw draft. Is this somewhere where Councilor Murray mentioned that if you're going to build or you have this, and obviously we're looking for investors eventually coming in and building, some maybe condos or apartments. Is this something that we would add in there that they have to have, so many accessibility stalls? Because I don't remember seeing it within the draft, and maybe it is in the draft. And is this the point that, don't get me wrong, we're waiting for the draft to come back, Ms. Scott. But I'd be curious to know if that's when we can have that conversation, or if staff will just make sure they highlight that.
It would be something that you would need to include in that bylaw. So when the draft comes back, I haven't seen the draft either. So if it's not in the draft, it might be something you want to address. And so, yeah, that would be something in your zoning bylaw where it talks about requirements. I mean, it currently has, your current zoning bylaw has parking requirements for commercial properties, period. So, yeah, that would be something that you could add in there, the requirement for accessibility stalls. Okay,
perfect. So I am old and possibly forgetful. So I'll put a motion on the floor that staff have a takeaway from this topic, that they capture making sure that we look at the zoning bylaw amendment when it comes back to see what's in there and advise council what's already in there so we're aware. Take a seconder. Councillor Noxana. Seconder, or sorry, discussion. Sorry, I seen your light. Sorry, your hand was up. That's right.
After, I hit my light before you did that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I hit my light before you put a motion on the floor. Something after.
Okay. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. Is there a method that we could use to encourage existing properties or businesses to build or put accessibility stalls on their existing property? So apartment, maybe they have the 2 entrance doors, has a accessibility stall, or if there's a store that doesn't have this, maybe a way to encourage them to make this a priority.
Yeah, I think when we get to this BC Accessibility Act with the committee meeting, I think that's what's going to come out of it. I think with this one here was actually a person coming forward, has an accessibility issue, is looking for a one-off where he can park in the street, whether it's to unload groceries or park there because it makes it easier. That we're saying that the motion was to ask staff to assist him contacting Estrada to see if Estrada can make that work for him while we wait for the zoning amendment draft to come back. I'm not sure of the timeline for it to come back, but I know that's, we did pre-approve a budget for extra budget for that to be finalized, and I imagine we'll see it here in a little while. Make sense? Good? Okay, anything else from council? Okay, take adjournment. Council Nobre.
At the June 10th, 2024 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting, be adjourned.
Seconder. Councillor Clickash, all in favor? Carried.